Welcome to Men Gigs. Here's a legendary quote to start with. Freedom is not worth having if it does not include the freedom to make mistakes. Mahatma Gandhi. Gentlemen, welcome to another journey into the enigmatic world of Sigma males. Right away, we're venturing into uncharted territory to discuss the dark side of being a Sigma that nobody talks about. Now, don't get me wrong. Being a Sigma is a path filled with freedom, independence, and self-mastery. But like every coin, it has a flip side, a shadow that even the strongest among us sometimes struggle to confront. From the loneliness of self-reliance to the emotional walls we build, the Sigma life comes with its challenges. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Join this community of individuals who refuse to conform. And let's explore the harsh truths of the Sigma lifestyle together. Trust me, you want to stick around till the end, because this might just change how you see yourself and the world. Number 1, the loneliness that comes with freedom. Freedom is intoxicating, isn't it? But let's not sugarcoat it. Freedom often comes at the cost of connection. Sigmas thrive on independence, but that self-sufficiency can create a void. Take the story of Christopher McCandless, popularized in Jon Krakauer's Into the Wild. McCandless sought complete freedom from societal expectations, venturing into the wilderness alone. But his story reminds us of a harsh truth. He realized too late that happiness is only real when shared. Being a Sigma is often like this. You're free to roam where you like, do what you want, and answer to no one. But who's there to share in your triumphs? That's the loneliness we're talking about. Embrace solitude, but balance it. Build a circle of people who understand your nature and respect your independence. Even lone wolves need allies to thrive. Number 2, the burden of being misunderstood. Being misunderstood is the fate of all deep thinkers, said Soren Kierkegaard, and Sigmas know this all too well. Society craves labels, yet you defy them all. Neither alpha nor beta. You're the enigma, and it frustrates people who thrive on predictability. Picture this. Your coworkers are planning an after-hours party, and when you decline their invite, they start whispering about how aloof you are. The reality? You'd rather spend that time pursuing your goals or recharging your energy. Susan Cain, in her book Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking, highlights how independent thinkers are often marginalized for their refusal to conform. Embrace your mystery. Being misunderstood isn't a weakness. It's proof you're creating your own narrative. Let people talk. You're not here to be understood. You're here to live authentically. Number 3, always being the outsider. You've heard the phrase, fitting in is overrated, but let's admit it, being an outsider can get exhausting. Sigmas exist on the periphery, observing rather than participating, and while this gives unparalleled perspective, it can also make you feel invisible. Take Batman, for instance. Yes, we're going there. He's the ultimate Sigma, always on the outside, doing what needs to be done, yet rarely celebrated for it. His solitude is his strength, but it's also his greatest burden. At a party, you're the guy who arrives, grabs a drink, scans the room, and leaves before anyone notices. Being an outsider isn't a flaw, it's a superpower. You see the world differently, and that gives you an edge. Use it to your advantage, gentlemen. Number 4, the pressure of self-reliance. Being a Sigma means you're the captain of your ship, the master of your fate. But with great power comes great responsibility, as Uncle Ben would say. When you're fiercely independent, people start to rely on you more than you rely on them. Family, friends, co-workers, they see you as the problem solver, the rock. But who do you turn to when life gets heavy? Imagine being the guy everyone calls when their car breaks down, but who has no one to call when his own breaks down. Self-reliance is a double-edged sword. While it fosters strength, don't let it isolate you. Even the strongest warriors need shields. Number 5, the emotional walls you build. Sigmas guard their emotions like a fortress, often out of fear that vulnerability will be mistaken for weakness. But here's the truth. Those walls you build can become prisons. Brené Brown, in her book Daring Greatly, states, vulnerability is not weakness. It's our most accurate measure of courage. Think of James Bond. cool, composed, and untouchable until you see the cracks in his armor. Even he, the epitome of Sigma, isn't immune to the weight of emotional isolation. True strength isn't in hiding your emotions, it's in owning them. Dare to be vulnerable, gentlemen. It might just be the bravest thing you do. Number 6. The challenge of balancing ambition and contentment. Sigmas are relentless in their pursuit of goals. But where's the finish line? When is enough truly enough? Chasing ambition as a Sigma is like upgrading your phone. By the time you're satisfied, a newer model is already out. Balance is essential. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small. Ambition without contentment is like climbing an endless staircase. It leads nowhere. Number 7. The criticism for not playing the game. Gentlemen, let's face it. Society loves people who follow the script, the rulebook, the so-called game. It rewards those who climb ladders, shake the right hands, and smile at the right jokes. But for a Sigma, the very idea of playing the game feels like shackling your soul. You don't schmooze, you don't fake enthusiasm at water cooler gossip, and you're not interested in climbing a ladder someone else built. And that makes you a target. Critics will label you aloof, rebellious, or, my personal favorite, difficult. As Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Sigmas embody this ethos. The refusal to conform isn't a flaw, it's an act of courage. Imagine working in an office where everyone is scrambling for the boss's approval by parroting whatever he says. The Sigma? He'll quietly execute his tasks, exceed expectations, and leave before the brown-nosing starts. You know those team-building exercises where everyone has to fall backward and trust someone to catch them? Yeah, the Sigma will just step aside and say, "You're better off standing." Here's the deal. Playing the game isn't a prerequisite for success. The Sigma rewrites the rules, and while that may draw criticism, it also inspires admiration, albeit grudgingly. Remember, gentlemen, it's better to be respected for who you are than loved for who you're not. Number 8. Struggling with relationships. Relationships are a minefield for Sigmas. Why? Because small talk, mind games, and forced connections are about as appealing as nails on a chalkboard. You're not antisocial. You just have a zero-tolerance policy for superficiality. Dr. Elaine Aron, in her book The Highly Sensitive Person, notes that individuals who are introspective and independent often struggle with relationships because they value depth over breadth. For Sigmas, it's not about how many friends or partners you have. It's about whether those connections are meaningful. Picture this. You're on a date, and the other person is gushing about their favorite reality TV show. Meanwhile, you're sitting there thinking, how do I politely segue into Nietzsche without sounding like a lunatic? Sigmas don't ghost people. They perform a strategic fade. One day, you're texting back, the next day, crickets. Not because you don't care, but because shallow connections drain your energy faster than a dying smartphone battery. Gentlemen, don't force relationships. Seek out people who can match your depth and respect your independence. True connections aren't about proximity. They're about compatibility. It's better to walk alone than in the wrong company. Number 9. The fear of vulnerability. Vulnerability, the Sigma's kryptonite. You've mastered the art of projecting strength, but underneath that cool exterior lies a very human fear. What happens if I let someone in? Will they see my flaws? Will they use them against me? Brené Brown, in her groundbreaking TED Talk, The Power of Vulnerability, argues that vulnerability is not a weakness. It's the birthplace of courage and connection. Yet Sigmas often perceive it as a threat to their independence. You're in a serious conversation with a close friend or partner, and they ask, how are you really feeling? Cue the inner panic. Do I tell them the truth? Or do I shrug it off with a one-liner about life being a constant battle between tacos and salad? Being vulnerable for a Sigma is like trying to uninstall a pre-installed app on your phone. It feels impossible, unnecessary, and frustrating. Gentlemen, here's the paradox. Vulnerability doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong. Letting someone in isn't surrendering your autonomy. It's showing that your strength is rooted in authenticity. Remember, even the strongest walls have doors. 10. The constant battle with expectations. Sigmas walk a tightrope of expectations. To the outside world, you're the mysterious, self-assured lone wolf who always has it together. But the truth? Living up to that image can be exhausting. Carl Jung, the legendary psychologist, believed in the concept of persona, the mask we present to the world. For Sigmas, that mask often carries the weight of perfection, leading to a quiet internal struggle. You're the guy who's expected to solve every problem, stay calm under pressure, and never crack. Whether it's at work, in your social circle, or even in your family, people look to you as the unshakable one. And while you play the part flawlessly, it's draining. You're like Batman. People admire you, but no one asks how you're holding up. Sure, you can fight crime and brood on rooftops, but who checks if you've had your 8 hours of sleep? Gentlemen, perfection is a myth, and the sooner you reject it, the freer you'll feel. Set boundaries. Prioritize your well-being. The world doesn't need a flawless Sigma. It needs a real one. Gentlemen, being a Sigma isn't for the faint-hearted. It's a path of freedom, authenticity, and self-mastery, but it also demands resilience in the face of loneliness, misunderstanding, and high expectations. Having said this, don't forget to subscribe and like this video to join our community of Sigma-minded individuals. Let's keep growing, learning, and living authentically. Apply these qualities to your life and create an impact that lasts.